Level 2 is where we introduce studio monitors. Studio monitors are speakers, but similar to reference headphones, studio monitors are intended to give you the truth, while many consumer speakers, like consumer headphones, tend to alter what you're listening to. I want to talk about the two biggest differences between listening to music with headphones versus speakers. And if you want your music to translate to speakers, it's important to be aware of these differences. First is the stereo image. With a stereo speaker setup, you can pan a source all the way to the left or all the way to the right, but the furthest it will go is about 30 degrees off center. In other words, you're working with a stereo field that's about 60 degrees wide. On the other hand, headphones have a stereo width of 180 degrees. That means if you make panning decisions in headphones, you might be surprised by how much narrower they come across when played back through speakers. The second difference is also related to spatialization. When you listen on headphones, the left ear hears only what comes through the left speaker, and the right ear hears only what comes out of the right speaker. But when you use speakers, the sound from the left speaker reaches both the left and right ear, and so does the sound from the right speaker. Practically speaking, this makes for a sound in headphones that seems to originate from within your head compared to the out in front of you experience that you get with speakers. A key benefit of studio monitors is that the left and right speakers work together to create a phantom image between the speakers, allowing you to place different elements of your music within a soundstage. Of course, in order for this to work properly, it's important to set up your studio monitors in a specific way. As a basic guideline, aim to place your monitors so that they form an equilateral triangle with the listening position, with equal distance between the speakers and the listening position. This ensures the stereo width is symmetrical and the sound from each speaker reaches the listening position at the same time. It's also important to point the studio monitors toward the listening position, as speaker cabinets in a room are directional, with high frequencies being more directional than low frequencies. This is the standard setup, and it sets you up to make panning decisions that will translate well to other systems that are set up properly. If we go back to the headphone utility plugin that came with the Atom headphones, we can now understand the goal of the externalization button in the center, which engages a technique called crossfeed. The headphone utility plugin is unique in how it operates, but in its most basic form, crossfeed introduces some of the left channel into the right channel and vice versa, which makes the sound more similar to what you might hear on speakers. Let me demonstrate what that sounds like. You'll need to use headphones to hear this. And keep in mind that this tool is made specifically for the H200s. But you should get a sense of what it does, even if the EQ curve being applied isn't ideal for the headphones you're using at home. Every year, there are new tools that attempt to make a virtual studio monitor experience possible in headphones, especially with immersive audio being such a big topic lately. And while this technology could be hugely beneficial for you if you're working in level 1 with just headphones, using studio monitors still has some additional benefits. One benefit of using studio monitors is that you're able to experience the music more fully. If you've ever been to a loud concert, you know that we don't just hear audio with our ears, but also with our bodies, through haptics, the felt vibrations in the body. While the haptics in a studio are much more subtle than a live concert, they are still there, particularly in the low frequencies. And with the sound from our headphones being pent up inside the cans, it's not able to interact with our bodies. Now, I will say that there are some psychosomatic effects that can be felt when you listen to a driving beat, even in headphones, where you can experience phantom thumping in the chest or in the abdomen, but it doesn't compare to the real thing. and that can only be experienced in speakers. And those sensations can be very powerful emotionally. So producing music with speakers can really improve the emotional impact of your song. When the sound is trapped inside the headphones, it doesn't interact with the room either. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on the acoustics of the room. Think about it. When you mix with studio monitors, the sound reaches you both directly and indirectly after reflecting off of surfaces in the room. That means you're hearing the reverb in the mix and the reverb in the room you're actually sitting in. In some instances, that sound that continues to bounce around the room can actually mask the quieter elements in your mix, whether it's a quiet instrument or the tail of a reverb decay. Therefore, mixing in headphones can sometimes lead to using more or less reverb than you otherwise would have if you had mixed in studio monitors. If you're mixing in level 2 with headphones and studio monitors, you're introducing the room. And beyond what I've already discussed so far, there are lots of variables that come into play when that happens. And that brings us to level 3.